Have you ever looked at your grocery receipt and felt a sudden urge to just move to the woods and forage for berries? What if I told you that you could completely eliminate a huge chunk of your produce bill by planting something exactly one time? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a gardening secret that seed companies probably do not want you to know about. We are talking about 9 incredible climbing plants that produce food all year round. And the best part is, you only have to plant them once. That is right. No more breaking your back every single spring. No more buying seeds year after year. We are going to explore lush vertical vines that turn your fences and trellises into perpetual food machines. But before we get to the list, I have a controversial question for you. Do you think traditional row gardening is a waste of time? Drop down into the comments right now and tell me if you are Team Annuals or Team Perennials. Get ready, because what you are about to see is going to completely change the way you look at your backyard. To truly appreciate the magic of these plants, we need to understand a little bit of gardening history and context. For generations, traditional agriculture has trained us to think in terms of annual crops. You plant a tomato, it gives you fruit for a few weeks, it dies, and you start all over again the next year. This cycle requires massive amounts of energy, water, fertilizer, and labor. But nature does not actually work this way in the wild. In natural forests, plants grow vertically, climbing up towards the sun, and many of them live for decades, producing food continuously. This is the core concept of perennial vertical gardening. By choosing climbing plants that live year after year, we are mimicking a natural forest edge. Climbing plants are incredibly efficient. They take up almost zero ground space, which is perfect if you have a tiny urban yard or just a balcony. Furthermore, because they grow high up off the ground, they are naturally resistant to soil-dwelling pests and diseases. The air circulation up on a trellis keeps the leaves healthy and the fruit clean. So, by combining the climbing habit with a perennial lifespan, you get the ultimate lazy gardening hack. You put the seed in the dirt one time, build a sturdy support, and let the plant do the heavy lifting for years to come. Now, let us break down the absolute best varieties to start your vertical food forest. Let us kick things off with a plant that honestly feels like a glitch in the matrix of gardening. I am talking about the chayote squash. If you have never heard of it, prepare to have your mind blown. Many people believe the common myth that all squash vines only last for one short summer season, and then they die off at the first frost. That is simply not true. The chayote is a perennial climbing vine that just keeps on giving year after year. Imagine a beautiful, incredibly vigorous vine crawling aggressively up your trellis, completely covered in pale green, pear-shaped fruits. These fruits have a crisp, refreshing texture, somewhat like a perfect cross between a potato and a cucumber. They are absolutely incredible in soups, stir-fries, or just roasted in the oven with a little bit of garlic and olive oil. But here is the real kicker that makes chayote a superstar in the vertical garden. Once you plant this vine and it establishes its massive root system, it can produce hundreds of squash in a single year. You heard that right, literally hundreds of fruits. In warmer climates, it produces food all year round without stopping. Continuing with the mighty chayote, we need to talk about how resilient this plant actually is. Even if you live in a slightly cooler climate where it snows, you do not have to miss out. The top of the vine might die back during the freezing winter, but the underground tuberous roots will survive safely beneath the soil. As soon as the spring sun warms the ground, it shoots right back up, growing several inches a day. You only plant it once, and you are basically running a free grocery store in your backyard. It completely shatters the illusion that you have to break your back tilling and planting every single spring. For a bright example, imagine walking out to your patio in the middle of November, reaching up to your pergola, and plucking 5 heavy, fresh squash for dinner, while your neighbors are paying premium prices for wilted vegetables at the supermarket. Plus, the young leafy shoots of the chayote vine are also entirely edible and taste exactly like asparagus when you sauté them. It is a dual-purpose food machine. Now, let us move on to number 2 on our list, which solves a massive problem for summer gardeners. Have you ever tried to grow regular spinach in July, only to watch it instantly bolt, turn horribly bitter, and die? It is frustrating. Let me introduce you to climbing Malabar spinach. Let us burst a quick myth right here. Malabar spinach is not actually related to true spinach at all, but it serves the exact same culinary purpose, only much better. This is a stunning, heat-loving perennial vine that thrives exactly when traditional greens give up and die. It features gorgeous, bright red stems and thick, glossy, heart-shaped leaves that look so beautiful you could easily grow it as a purely decorative ornamental plant. But we are here for the food. Malabar spinach loves the sweltering heat. The hotter it gets, the faster it climbs up your trellis. In tropical and subtropical zones, it will live and produce fresh salad greens all year round for several years. You will never have a shortage of greens again. Let us talk about what you actually do with Malabar spinach in the kitchen, because the texture is truly unique. The leaves are slightly succulent, meaning they hold a lot of moisture. When you bite into them raw in a salad, they have a wonderful crisp crunch with a mild, earthy flavor that hints of citrus and pepper. When you cook them, they act as a natural thickener for soups and stews. Imagine coming home from work on a blistering hot summer day. Your regular garden is looking sad and droopy, but your Malabar spinach is thriving, reaching 10 feet into the air. You simply walk over with your scissors, snip off a few dozen vibrant green leaves, and toss them straight into a sizzling wok with garlic and ginger. It is instant, fresh food on demand. And because it is a vigorous climbing plant, it takes up essentially 0 square footage on the ground. You can grow a massive amount of edible greens in a simple pot on a balcony as long as you provide a string or a pole for it to wrap around. It is the ultimate plant and forget leafy green. For our third incredible climber, we are looking at something that provides fruit so expensive in the store, growing it feels like printing your own money. I am talking about the passion fruit vine, specifically the perennial varieties like the maypop. A lot of folks think passion fruit only grows in exotic tropical jungles. That is a huge myth we need to debunk right now. The maypop variety is incredibly cold hardy and will grow vigorously across massive parts of the world, returning year after year to produce an abundance of food. Before we even talk about the fruit, we have to talk about the flowers. Imagine looking at your garden fence and seeing hundreds of complex, alien-looking purple and white blossoms. They are so intricate and beautiful that people will stop walking down the street just to stare at your garden. These flowers attract incredible numbers of bees and pollinators, bringing vital life and energy to your entire yard. And all you did was plant one single vine a few years ago. But the real prize of the passion fruit vine comes after those beautiful flowers are pollinated. They swell into egg-shaped fruits that drop to the ground or hang heavily on the vine when they are perfectly ripe. Cut one open, and you are greeted with a bright yellow, aromatic jelly filled with edible seeds. The taste is an explosion of tropical sweet and tart flavors. You can eat it straight out of the skin with a spoon, blend it into morning smoothies, or make the most incredible homemade juices. Because this vine grows so fast, sometimes up to 20 feet in a single season, it creates a dense, living privacy wall. Imagine replacing your boring wooden fence with a wall of solid green leaves, purple flowers, and delicious fruit that requires 0 replanting. Once the root system is secure, this vine will feed you continuously throughout its growing season, and in mild climates, it stays evergreen and produces almost all year round. It is a permanent investment in your household food security and your culinary joy. Moving on to plant number 4, we have a plant that is widely misunderstood by modern gardeners, the scarlet runner bean. Walk into any garden center, and they will sell you bean seeds with the instructions to plant them every year. But here is the secret. Scarlet runner beans are actually perennials in their native habitat, and if you live in a mild climate, or if you protect their roots, they will grow back every single year without you doing a thing. This vine is an absolute powerhouse. It rapidly climbs up any support you give it, twisting tightly around poles and wires. During the blooming phase, it produces clusters of the most brilliant, vibrant red flowers you have ever seen. In fact, many people grow them purely for their looks, completely ignoring the fact that they are standing next to a massive source of free protein. Hummingbirds absolutely lose their minds over these red flowers, so you are also creating a beautiful wildlife sanctuary while growing your dinner. The productivity of a mature scarlet runner bean vine is genuinely staggering. The pods can grow up to a foot long. You can eat them young as tender green beans, or you can let them mature on the vine and harvest the massive, beautiful pink and purple speckled seeds inside. These beans are dense in calories and protein, making them a fantastic survival food, or just a heavy, filling addition to winter chilies and soups. But there is a hidden, underground benefit to this plant. Like all legumes, the scarlet runner bean pulls nitrogen straight out of the air and fixes it into the soil. This means the plant is literally creating its own fertilizer and fertilizing any other plants you have growing nearby. You plant it once, it feeds you, it feeds the hummingbirds, and it feeds the soil. Imagine having a permanent archway over your garden path, draped in red flowers and hanging green pods, providing shade in the summer and food all year round. That is the power of utilizing perennial climbing beans in your home landscape. Our fifth plant is an absolute showstopper that will make your friends incredibly jealous. Let me introduce you to the kiwi berry, also known as the hardy kiwi. Now, when I say kiwi, you probably imagine the fuzzy brown fruits that you have to peel, which only grow in places like New Zealand or sunny California. Let us throw that myth out the window. The kiwi berry is an incredibly tough, perennial climbing vine that can survive freezing temperatures well below zero, yet it produces massive amounts of fruit every single year. These are not your standard kiwis. They are about the size of a large grape. They are completely fuzz-free, and you pop them right into your mouth, whole, skin and all. They are sweeter and far more intensely flavored than the stuff you buy at the grocery store. This vine is a long-term commitment. You plant it once, and it can easily live and produce food for 50 years or more. It is a generational food source. Growing the kiwi berry does require a bit of initial strategy, because this vine is so robust and lives so long, it gets heavy. Really heavy. You cannot just lean it against a flimsy wire fence. You need a solid wooden pergola or thick steel trellising. But once you set that up, the maintenance is incredibly low. You just prune it back once a year to encourage new fruit growth. Imagine stepping into your backyard on a crisp autumn morning, walking under your sturdy wooden pergola, and looking up to see thousands of smooth, green, bite-sized kiwis dangling right above your head. You can harvest buckets of them. They are perfect for fresh snacking, making jams, or freezing for later. One important tip: you usually need a male plant and a female plant to get fruit, so make sure you plant one of each. Once they start producing, usually in their third year, you will have an unstoppable, year-round source of vitamin C that never needs to be replanted. It is like having a vineyard, but for superfoods. Let us shift gears to plant number 6, the climbing nasturtium. Many folks think of nasturtiums as those little, well-behaved annual flowers that sit in hanging baskets. But there are climbing and trailing varieties that are fierce, perennial growers in mild, frost-free climates. And here is the big secret. Absolutely every single part of the nasturtium plant is edible. This is not just a pretty flower. The large, circular, lily-pad-shaped leaves have a bold, spicy, peppery flavor that tastes exactly like watercress. The vibrant orange, yellow, and red flowers taste sweet at first, followed by a spicy kick, making them the most beautiful addition to high-end salads. Even the immature green seed pods can be harvested and pickled, creating a delicacy known as poor man's capers. This single climbing vine provides 3 entirely different types of food for your kitchen, and once it is established, it will self-seed and grow continuously, providing year-round harvests. Beyond its incredible culinary uses, the climbing nasturtium serves a brilliant strategic purpose in the vertical garden. It is what permaculture experts call a trap crop. Aphids and other annoying garden pests absolutely love nasturtiums. They will completely ignore your precious tomatoes and peppers and flock straight to the nasturtium vine instead. Because the nasturtium grows so vigorously, it can easily handle the pest pressure without dying. So you are essentially planting a beautiful edible bodyguard for your garden. Imagine throwing a dinner party and serving a simple green salad, but scattered over the top are glowing, bright orange and yellow flowers. Your guests will think you hired a professional chef, and you get to smile and say, "I just picked these off the fence outside." The fact that this plant can climb a trellis, feed your family, protect your other crops, and return year after year with zero effort makes it a mandatory addition to our perennial food forest list. For number 7, we are going completely off the beaten path with an indigenous climbing plant that was a staple survival food for centuries, yet almost no one grows it today. It is called the groundnut, or Apios americana. This is a perennial climbing vine that looks quite delicate and pretty above ground, producing lovely, dusty pink and burgundy flowers that smell faintly of violets. But the real magic is happening below the soil. As this vine climbs up your trellis year after year, it forms a massive chain of edible tubers along its root system. These tubers look like a string of potatoes, but they are far superior nutritionally. Let us crush the myth that you can only get good carbohydrates from annual crops like corn or regular potatoes. The groundnut tubers contain up to 3 times the protein of a standard potato, making them a true high-energy survival food that you only ever have to plant once. Harvesting groundnuts is like going on a treasure hunt. Because it is a perennial, you never harvest the whole plant. You simply dig around the base of the vine in the late fall or winter, snip off a few of the tubers for dinner, and leave the rest in the ground to grow and produce a new vine the following spring. It is the ultimate sustainable starch. When you cook them, they have a dense, creamy texture and a rich flavor that tastes like a roasted potato crossed with a sweet turnip. Imagine a bitter, freezing January day. The rest of the garden is completely dead and barren. But you know exactly where your groundnut vine is sleeping. You go out with a trowel, dig up a pound of high-protein tubers, roast them by the fire, and have a hearty, fulfilling meal from a plant you put in the ground 5 years ago. It climbs, it fixes nitrogen, it survives harsh winters, and it feeds you heavy calories. It is an absolute must-have. Let us move to plant number 8, a vine that thrives in hot climates and produces a vegetable that is highly prized in Asian cuisine, the bitter melon. Now, the name alone scares some people away, but let me tell you, this climbing vine is a vigorous, heavy-producing machine. In tropical and subtropical zones, it acts as a true perennial, growing year-round and constantly putting out new fruit. The vine itself is delicate and attractive, with deeply lobed leaves and small, cheerful yellow flowers. But it grows with aggressive speed, easily covering an entire chain-link fence in a matter of months. The fruits themselves are bumpy, bright green, and look a bit like cucumbers that have hit the gym. They are famous for their sharp, bitter flavor, which is highly addictive once you learn how to cook it properly. Furthermore, bitter melon is celebrated worldwide for its incredible health benefits, particularly its ability to help regulate blood sugar. A lot of folks think they cannot handle the taste of bitter melon. The myth is that it is just too harsh. But the trick is in the preparation. If you slice the melon open, scoop out the seeds, salt the flesh, and let it sit for 20 minutes, much of the intense bitterness drains away. Then you toss it into a screeching hot wok with some eggs, garlic, and soy sauce. The result is a savory, incredibly complex dish that you will find yourself craving constantly. Because this vine grows so fast and produces fruit continuously, you will be harvesting these melons week after week, month after month. Imagine walking out to your trellis and seeing dozens of these bumpy green jewels hanging down like natural ornaments. You snip one off, take it straight to the kitchen, and cook a healthy medicinal meal. By planting just 1 or 2 of these perennial vines, you guarantee a steady stream of fresh, highly nutritious food that requires absolutely zero replanting effort on your part. Finally, we arrive at plant number 9, which might just be the most versatile plant on the entire list. I'm talking about the winged bean, often referred to as the one-stop supermarket plant. Why? Because absolutely every single part of this climbing vine is edible and delicious. It is native to equatorial climates, so it grows as an incredible, vigorous perennial, where winters are mild, providing food all year round. The vine itself shoots up trellises, producing beautiful pale blue flowers. Then come the seed pods, which are the main attraction. They have 4 ruffled, frilly edges, making them look like a green bean with little wings. You can eat these pods raw or stir-fried, and they taste wonderfully crisp. But we are not done yet. The leaves of the winged bean vine can be eaten exactly like spinach. The flowers are sweet and edible, perfect for decorating cakes or salads. It is truly a plant that gives everything it has. But the winged bean has one more massive surprise. Just like the groundnut we talked about earlier, this climbing vine also produces large, edible tuberous roots deep underground. These roots are incredibly rich in protein and taste somewhat like sweet potatoes when roasted. And if you let the winged pods mature and dry on the vine, the hard seeds inside can be extracted, roasted, and ground up to make a beverage that tastes shockingly similar to coffee. So from one single seed, you get a beautiful privacy screen, green beans, leafy spinach, decorative flowers, starchy potatoes, and a coffee substitute. Imagine sitting on your porch, drinking a warm cup of roasted winged bean tea, eating a salad made from its leaves and flowers, and snacking on its roasted roots, all harvested from a single plant that climbs quietly up your pergola year after year. It represents the absolute pinnacle of what perennial vertical gardening can achieve for your independence and grocery budget. Now that you know exactly which 9 incredible plants can provide you with a year-round harvest, we must talk about the one critical mistake people make that ruins the whole system: the support structure. If you are planting annual tomatoes or cucumbers, a cheap, flimsy wire cage or a thin bamboo teepee will work just fine for a few months. But remember the golden rule of this video: we are planting exactly once for a lifetime of food. Perennial vines grow massive. They accumulate thick, woody stems, heavy foliage, and hundreds of pounds of fruit. If you let a mature chayote or a hardy kiwi climb up a weak plastic trellis, the entire structure will violently collapse during the first heavy rain or windstorm, destroying years of growth. This is a heartbreaking myth that any old fence will do. You are not just planting a garden, you are building permanent green infrastructure. To succeed with these forever plants, you must overbuild your trellises from day one. Use thick, pressure-treated wooden posts, heavy-gauge welded wire panels like cattle panels, or galvanized steel piping. Think of your trellis not as a garden accessory, but as the actual skeleton of your new food forest. Imagine installing a massive, heavy-duty archway made from welded cattle panels right over your main walkway. You plant a passion fruit on one side and a scarlet runner bean on the other. Year 1, it looks okay. By year 3, that steel arch is completely invisible, swallowed whole by a massive, dense tunnel of green leaves, purple flowers, and heavy hanging fruit. You can literally walk through a tunnel of free food every single day. Because you invested in the strong structure once, and you planted the perennial vine once, you have created a permanent asset that will feed you, shade you, and save you money for decades to come without ever having to till the soil again. And there you have it, the ultimate cheat code to hacking your grocery bill and reclaiming your time. We have gone from the hundreds of crisp fruits on a single chayote vine to the heat-loving Malabar spinach, the exotic passion fruit, and the incredibly versatile winged bean. The sheer volume of food you can produce vertically from plants that you never have to reseed is absolutely staggering. This is not just gardening. This is a revolution in how we think about self-reliance and food security. By shifting your focus from fragile annuals to robust, climbing perennials, you are building a permanent food engine right in your own backyard. Imagine waking up 10 years from now, and those vines you planted today are still thriving, still climbing, and still feeding your family effortlessly. That is the true power of planting once. Thank you so much for watching. If this video opened your eyes to a whole new way of growing food, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a massive thumbs up, and share it with someone who loves to garden. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 9 climbing plants surprised you the most, and which one are you going to plant first? Leave a comment down below, and let us start building our vertical food forests together. See you in the next video.